How's it going, everybody? It is your favorite apostates. I am McKay.
I am Jordan.
Before we get started, we did want to mention one quick thing, as we noted a little bit in the last episode. As we mentioned last week, we have started a collaboration with the Exmo Candle Company, and we have our very own, designed by us, but really Jen did all the work, candle that you can buy to support us. And like we said last week, we wanted to give one of those candles away. Now, the scent is amazing. I just wanted to mention what it was. You can find this information on the page that we're going to include in the description down below. The scent is as noted here. Top notes: tropical citrus, palm trees. My fave. Middle notes: pineapple, tart, goji berry, and mango. And the base notes: agave and driftwood. I would have never guessed driftwood.
It smells like anthropology.
It smells like second Sunday or second Saturday. It smells like a trip to the beach. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just makes me happy, and it smells good. And we have it burning right now in the back. Maybe you'll end up seeing it at some point during the video, but I'm not moving my head the right way. Anyway, if you would like to purchase one of these preemptively, you can go to the link down in the description. It does support us. It supports one of my favorite, or my absolute favorite candle brand now, and good friend of the channel, Jen and Adri. So yeah, we love them. For this giveaway, we are going to have you comment and subscribe to the channel for your chance to win. It's going to start right now whenever you see this video, and it's going up. It's going up Monday at 1 p.m. And we will choose a randomized winner out of the comments on April 23rd at 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So that is your cutoff. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment, and you could win your very own, the first off candle of Jordan and McKay's signature scent. That's a pretty cool thing for me to say. So comment whatever it is, I don't care. Make sure I'm gonna put the comment on there, so if it's a goofy comment, just be prepared. If you win, I'm gonna show it off, and then yeah, we will announce the winner in the video on Monday the 25th. So by April 23rd 2022 at 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. We'll ship to anywhere in the world, no worries on that. Even if it costs us an arm and a leg, but we want to give back to everybody who's supported us and gotten us to the point where we can have a signature scent of a candle. On that note, we will also be getting our shipment of stickers for Etsy on the 12th, so tomorrow. If you've been waiting for restocks and for the new stuff that we announced last week, we will be putting them up this week, and we'll make a community post and post it on all our socials when that stuff is live, because we still gotta take little photography and get all the listings up on Etsy and everything like that. Thank you for bearing through that little bit of news at the beginning. Jordan, what is our topic about today?
Today, as highly requested.
I can't even describe how many times this has been requested.
For real. We are re-entering our Mormon influencer series. We sort of bounce back and forth between that and a few other things that we've done. We haven't done an influencer video in a while.
Yeah.
So we are here to deliver.
Honestly, it's a little taxing sometimes.
It is very taxing to do influencer videos. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of research. So this is hours in the making for you.
Days, more like, honestly.
So...
And when you include the recovery afterward, it's just...
It's true.
It's not hard work.
So we have covered in part... We have covered in many different videos many of the Mormon influencers and the Mormon influencer verse, if you would like to call it that.
The Mormon influencer multiverse.
It really is a web of insanity where similar, many of them are connected. Many of them, go to award shows together. Many of them are like partnering on their YouTube channels and like all this crap. So they're all connected somehow or another, which kind of makes this more bizarre. So today we're talking about by far one of the most requested ones that we've ever had, which is Cute Girls Hairstyles or Brooklyn and Bailey.
They are all part of the McKnight family, and they've all just kind of exploded in popularity over the past, especially over the past like 7 or 8 years. But they have been in the game for a really long time.
So by popular demand, we have created this video about them for you. This is obviously an affirmative that these people, the McKnight family, are Mormon. They're part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have lots of information to back that up. But as is true with many other influencers that we've covered, there seems to be the same dynamic here where the influencers kind of pick and choose the Mormon rules that they want to follow and throw out the rest. So that is also greatly evidenced by the behavior of Brooklyn and Bailey particularly, but we will dive more into that in a moment.
So part of the reason that we talk about Mormon influencers is to kind of paint a picture for what happens when you support people who are part of an organization that is actively oppressing minorities and other vulnerable people around the world. And we'll get to a little more about that later, but it's important to know that 10% of all your income when you are part of the Mormon Church is required to go to the church in order for you to maintain good standing with the church. That ability to attend the temple, which is a place where only Mormons who are deemed worthy can attend, it hinges on your ability to pay your tithe, and it's something that's really important to them. So people who are married in the Mormon temple, people who are attending all the time, you can expect that they are also paying this 10% tithe because that's what their profit. And it's a major tenet, a major commandment in the Mormon Church. So that's part of the big reason why we do this.
So not all influencers are terrible people. I do not think that, especially the ones that we are reviewing today, are terrible people. I do not feel that way about this group. There are other influencers that we've reviewed that I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But these aren't one of them. For the most part, I feel like they're rather unproblematic. But the point is, these people, I didn't even bother to look up their net worth, but I know it's up there in the millions at the very least. So all of that money, particularly, now we can speculate about Brooklyn and Bailey later on in the video, but particularly for Mindy McKnight and her husband, who are, by all accounts on their social media, still actively Mormon, they are paying tithing on that money. So views, sponsorships, ads, partnerships, whatever the hell they're doing to get money, all of that, 10% of it, which if you're making millions, 10% is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Is going to the church. And so, and as we go through this video, we will highlight some of the things that the church says and does that are things that you as a decent human person should be concerned about. And so that's why we do this series, to highlight the fact that if you support these people, you're supporting an institution. Whether or not they're happy with that is neither here nor there. That's what's happening. So, and that's why it's important, because if you don't support those things, if you aren't homophobic or transphobic, then you might not want to be supporting these people, because they might not be homophobic or transphobic themselves, but they belong to an organization who largely is. So that's the whole point.
Irrefutably is. So
and
we'll
racist.
Get on with, yeah, and racist.
And a variety of other things.
There's a lot of things, but those are the ones that come to mind in light of recent events that we'll get to later. So Cute Girl Hairstyles, I guess, could best be described as, was it a blog or a YouTube channel first? Or was it kind of like in tandem?
I think it was a blog first, and then she went to a YouTube channel.
Okay. So Mindy McKnight is the founder of Cute Girls Hairstyles. Is it plural, really? Mm-hmm. Or is... That's dumb.
It is dumb. Cute
Girls Hairstyles channel on YouTube started in 2009. And then some point along the way, she just changed it to Mindy McKnight because
as of recently.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't notice. I saw that her YouTube was officially changed, mm-hmm. but it also said it in the Instagram and everything like that, which is much better because Cute Girls Hairstyles is too many plurals. Anyway.
It doesn't embody what they're currently doing, I feel like, per se. She still does a lot of hairstyle stuff, which that's what the whole channel was based around, was Mindy McKnight did cute hairstyles for her daughters. And that was kind of the YouTube channel. And they only, when they first started out, they only ever saw the back of the girls' heads, Brooklyn and Bailey in particular. And it just kind of branched out from there, and people kind of got connected to all of them, as people do with parasocial relationships and influencers. And so they kind of got more invested in them and more invested in the girls. And so Brooklyn and Bailey kind of started to really take off individually. But before we get into that, I wanted to touch more a little bit on Mindy, so you can kind of set the stage for how things are and why things are the way they are. From what I can gather in research, Mindy was born in 1979. She did attend BYU in Provo, Utah. And so that's obviously, you got to be following the rules in order to go to BYU. Yeah. So it is assumed that she comes from a Mormon family. She did attend BYU. She married her husband, and they got married and sealed in the Salt Lake Temple, just like us.
Just like us.
Shocking.
It's never too late to change your mind.
Very cute wedding photo. Looks very much like ours. Crazy.
Yeah, basically the same.
Crazy. They in total have 6 kids. 2 of them are adopted, and they did live in Utah for a short time. I don't know how long Mindy lived there, but they did live in Utah for a time before moving to Texas. It's Allen, Texas specifically, and apparently there's a rather large Mormon population in that area. So
I wouldn't have ever known that.
That was news.
I've never even heard of Allen, Texas.
I haven't either.
If you live there, I'm sorry, but it sounds not very notable.
Very much so. Mindy also, I don't know how long ago it was, but Mindy also has launched her own hair care brand. I didn't read too much into it. I did see that it's available at Walmart. I don't know if they sell it other places. But I did see part of that. The hair care brand is like rather inclusive, which I appreciate. 2 of their children are Black. And part of Cute Girls Hairstyles was centered on the fact that she has done the hair for her 2 children that are Black, and that's obviously different than doing hair for white folks. So
snaps to that, honestly.
So we recognize, we give credit where credit is due. And so that's great. The second thing that I was kind of surprised about going through Mindy's Instagram was her family did attend a Black Lives Matter rally in Texas. I did not look at the time. I want to say it was around the time after George Floyd's murder, but I don't remember specifically. But they did attend a Black Lives Matter rally, which was also surprising. In our circles, when we were in Mormonism, attending a Black Lives Matter rally is not something that you really would have seen a lot of Utah Mormons participate in. Particularly, we can only speak from our experience, but on the whole, I feel like that's kind of the message from where we were raised and how we grew up and where we are now. So that was pleasantly surprising. It seems, I was kind of surprised at the amount of discourse that she has had on her page, at least in story highlights, about, actively being anti-racist and George Floyd and, police violence and, those type of things. I was quite surprised that she had so much, which is great. I absolutely 100% encourage it. It hits home, particularly for them having Black children. So absolutely amazing. Love it. This is in complete contrast to what the church teaches about race and racism and all these things that are still prevalent within the church. So I've picked 2 things in particular that I wanted to share with you that are quotes from previous prophets, apostles within Mormonism, things that they have said about race. This was a quote that was given from a speech or a talk by Apostle Mark E. Peterson. This was in 1954, but please, please, please be aware that this is a pervasive problem. Racism is a pervasive problem within the Mormon church currently. This is not something that has gone away. This rhetoric remains deeply foundational to Mormonism. And so this is not unheard of. It's literally in Mormon scriptures about the curse of blackness. It's a central tenet of the Mormon church, whether or not they choose to acknowledge that, which primarily they don't. But that's where this quote is from.
Marky Peterson, 1954. He says, "If there is one drop of N-word blood in my children, as I have read to you, they receive the curse. There are 50 million N-words in the United States. If they were to achieve complete absorption of the white race, think what that would do. With 50 million N-words intermarried with us, where would the priesthood be?" So that's fun. That was 10 years before the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Which the church strongly opposed.
Yeah.
As well, mind you.
Was it 64 or 66? One of those two dates. I can't remember off the top of my head.
But the church was very much against the civil rights movement. I can't remember which
Ezra
one it was.
Taft Benson.
Yeah.
If it was in 1966, then this would be 1967. Yeah, that's what it is. In 1967, Ezra Taft Benson considered the civil rights movement to be a communist plot for revolution in America. And you can take that one to the bank.
Very cute.
Really cute.
Awesome. So, again, video for another day, but institutional racism within Mormonism is there. It is not hard to find.
Yeah. And I can understand compartmentalization, but when there's principles and doctrines that attack your own children
and scriptures,
I don't know how far compartmentalization can take you. Like, I mean, you are free to do as you choose, but that's kind of sending a message to me.
So as we talk about with all influencers, especially within Mormonism, we talk a lot about modesty and the church's standards for modesty.
It's a huge thing.
It's a huge thing. You have to be modest. It is not an option. It's not a suggestion. By and large, you are supposed to abide by those rules. Influencers aren't an exception to the rule. Yep. There's nothing in Mormon doctrine or policy that states that influencers don't have to dress modestly. That's not how it works. The same rules apply to basically everyone, unless you're a Mormon influencer that makes a ton of money, and then it seems that the rules don't really apply to you anymore.
Or you get your second anointing.
Fair. So while I personally have been pulled aside in church for wearing something that might have been too low or inappropriate, and I mean too low by, skirts that maybe came a few inches above the knee, I would get pulled aside and told my outfit was inappropriate in church by a male church leader. But Brooklyn and Bailey can get on Instagram and practically nothing, and no one bats an eye. So, and I'm not here to judge anyone for what they choose to wear. I think Brooklyn and Bailey are adorable. I totally respect their choices to do whatever they wish as far as clothing goes. Like, that's the least of my concerns. I don't care. But when it comes from looking at things from the framework of Mormonism, there's a reason why this needs to be talked about. Like, there's a discrepancy there.
Yep.
But particularly when it comes to Mindy, I've never seen her wear anything inappropriate as far as what it looks like on their social media, like on her Instagram. She largely dresses to me like a Mormon,
your average Mormon
mom would. There was one exception that I found that was at Bailey's wedding where she was wearing a dress. We'll throw up a picture that was not garment friendly.
Obviously, if you want to know more about the temple garments as it refers to influencers, I think we mentioned them in this video. But
we did.
I'll throw a link up there. But basically the short version of it is when you're a person like Mindy, who was sealed in the temple, you're required to wear the temple garment, and you're asked regularly by your leadership if you wear it as instructed.
Night and day. Night
and day, at all times, putting it back on as soon as possible if you do need to take it off. Then it's kind of a misrepresentation for people who might be curious about the religion. They might think, oh yeah, it's all cool to wear what you want or whatever, but as soon as you go into the temple and make those covenants or what have you, then you're required to play by their rules, and you can't just dress how you want. You need to be able to cover up the garment at all times.
Right. And so if you're not wearing that garment, because Mindy and her husband, if they are true faithful members at this point in time, which I have no reason at this point based on what they put on social media to believe that they're not, they are supposed to be wearing those all the time. Like, that's just the standard. And you get asked about it. And if you say no, then your bishop might withhold your temple recommend, and you might be restricted from participating in church activities. That's just how it goes.
If you are an average person like we are, you don't get to live the same Mormonism that people like this get to live.
And that's what we've talked about in these videos before, is a lot of the influencers in this realm seem to be making Mormonism more palatable for people, which is, our whole channel is dedicated to all the things that are wrong and harmful and oppressive within Mormonism. And all of those things we talk about day in and day out. But the problem with Mormon influencers, like we've talked about before, is it prevents Mormonism in a light that is untrue. Like, this is not how Mormonism works. So this is how their brand of Mormonism works. They might, particularly Brooklyn and Bailey, might pick out a few things that they like about Mormonism and toss out the rest. But that's not Mormonism.
Yeah.
And so it's leading people to believe that Mormonism is something that it's not. And the last thing that we want is for more people to join the Mormon church without the understanding of the harm that the Mormon church does. And so that's another reason why this is so problematic.
Yeah, and I scrolled all the way through Mindy's Instagram, and just giving a basic, I mean, there's a lot of posts. She was a daily poster for a long time. But just looking through all of the posts, I only found 2 pictures of them where they were in church, enough of kind of, for lack of a better term, dog whistle to Mormons, so that they know, oh, they go to church, they're Mormon. It's very obviously a Mormon church in the background.
Yeah.
And then one single solitary picture of them in front of the temple, which for Mormons is very odd that their social media would be essentially devoid of pictures of the temple. Just one, and it was a number of years back. So it's obviously not really an explicit part of Mindy's branding. Like a lot of other
ways it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. Where some of the Mormon influencers that we've covered, like the Bucket List family, will try to scrub everything that they are, everything that they have of Mormonism. So it's not part of their brand anymore. And I'm sort of speculating that might be what's happening with Brooklyn and Bailey. I'm not absolutely positive. That's pure speculation on my end. But it is, for a lot of influencers, it's kind of convenient to pull it out when they have it and kind of convenient to put it away when they don't. And so that seems to kind of be what's happening here.
Especially in the early days. Like, I mean, you just look it up and like LDS Living articles comes up and like stuff in Deseret News and things
Mormon
like
Wiki.
that. So it's easy for them to get in and have that connection already with their audience. But then when they need to kind of sweep it under the rug, it's easy to just get out.
Next thing, in line with tithing, as we talked about a few minutes ago. This I found in the McKnight snark on Reddit. And so they've posted, I spent a lot of time in that site, but they've posted a variety of things. I will link it. I'm pretty sure it's private, but I won't link it in the description anyway. So this was posted in the sub. I'm not sure where they got it from, but it was something of Mindy's that she posted where she outlined what tithing looks like for children. So this is a screenshot.
Boo.
Boo. That I will post of, that I'll have McKay put up here. So you can see, but essentially it's talking about 4 years old and 5 years old having them pay tithing.
If you do this, go fuck yourself. From the bottom of my heart. Don't make children do that.
Yeah. So it looks like they're saying like it's maybe allowance based, $1 a week for a 4-year-old, $1.25 a week for a 5-year-old or a preschooler. But 10% tithing is a part of each one of these. It goes on through, you know, as they get older. And starting at 4, you're paying 10% of your allowance.
To a church that you're not even a member of yet for 4 more years.
Seriously. And that you aren't going to be able to consent to be a part of until you're at least 18.
14 more years.
So if they're forcing their children to pay tithing at such a young age, I am absolutely convinced that they are still paying tithing.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, honestly. And $1 for a 4-year-old and $1.25. Can I get an adjustment for inflation? Come on. What can you get for it at $1 a week? You save up your dollars and you're giving 10% of it. So at the end of it, you give $52 and then you'll have to give $5.20 in tithing at the end of the year. Like, damn.
And
that leaves you with like $47-ish dollars.
They have
46.
Out of the 6 kids, the 2 other than Brooklyn and Bailey are rather popular as well. I don't really care to go into depth on either of the 2 of them because we just don't have the time, and 2, it's more time that I don't want to spend. So they're also involved, and they also are under the age of, I think at least one of them is under the age of 18. And so they're making money. Some of them independently have channels. One of them specifically has a YouTube channel that has, I think, like over 2 million subscribers. And so she's probably making a decent amount of money. If Mindy forces her children to pay tithing, then it's reasonable to believe that 16-year-old, 17-year-old, however old she is paying tithing on whatever money she's pulling in from YouTube. So again, now we just have more money being funneled in that's being paid to the Mormon Church. And as we've talked about before, Mormon Church has billions, plural, hundreds of billions, plural, of dollars in the bank. And so there is absolutely no need for them to get any more money. None whatsoever. Just wanted to clear that up. We've talked about this in the past. And until this family, we've done a lot of research on Mormon influencers. By all means, we can't cover anything and everything out there because we just don't have the time. And so to my knowledge, up to this point, there is not an influencer that I'm aware of that has ever partnered with the church or sponsored something or had the church sponsor something, any kind of exchange.
We could totally be wrong on that one, but we've never come across it.
We've never come across it, and we've covered some pretty big Mormon influencers. And so that is something that is unique to this family. Because was it this most recent Christmas?
Yeah.
So 2021, Christmas of 2021, last year, Cute Girls Hairstyles, Mindy posted a Christmas video that was like, Christmas traditions, what are we doing, blah, blah, blah. And they said at the very beginning of the video, this is sponsored or thanks to our partner, BYU-TV.
It's pretty easy to kind of draw a conclusion as to what BYU-TV is. It's just a channel run. They do radio and TV, run by BYU, and they provide programming that is clean and family appropriate. And they're also a big proponent of broadcasting General Conference 2 times a year, which just barely happened last week. So this is a sponsorship
from the church. The church partnered with them on this video to promote their Christmas televised concert program, whatever the hell they were doing at the time.
Yeah, it was funny because they were advertising or talking about, it was a Pentatonics, Christmas special thing, which is not really what would normally be on BYU TV. And then the other thing that they were promoting was Studio C, which is basically like clean SNL, comedy. But make it Mormon. So like the worst version of SNL. There's a few skits that were okay, but like the worst version of SNL.
And so in this video, they talked a lot about the BYU TV app. They encouraged people to download it. They very much oriented it as a family-friendly TV app. And, Mindy was like, everything that's on TV right now is garbage. And I just want to make sure that I'm delivering family-safe quality content to my kids, and they love it. And so it was very much a promo for BYU TV, much leaving out the religious indoctrination portion of BYU-TV.
Yeah, literally two days of just straight religious content every 6 months. So I don't know if they stream things, but
it's all like, yes, some of it is, you know, probably unrelated to Mormonism.
Yeah,
maybe just
but
more
it's all
Christianity.
Mormon produced.
But it's all produced by Mormons. It's owned by the church. It's Mormonism. Like you can't piece it apart. It's all the same thing. And so that is the only time that I'm aware of where the church has paid an influencer for airtime or, you know, sponsorships or ads or whatever. The church does run ads on all kinds of videos. They run ads on our videos from time to time.
Yeah, but partnership is definitely
that's unique.
Pretty out there.
That video got over 300,000 views, and so if the church was paying them based on how many views they got, it was probably a pretty penny. So, which by all means is kind of like a backwards thing because they would have paid them for the partnership for however many views they got, but then the McKnights are just going to turn around and pay that money right back to the church.
They get a 10% discount on whatever they want to pay.
For real. So that's unique. If there's something else like that out there, I mean, it's possible, but I haven't seen it yet. So
I always talk about that because I was employed by the church for a while, and like they gave benefits and everything, but in the end, whatever I made, they were getting 10% of that. Well, a little less than 10% after you factor in taxes, but something to think about. That's
true
funny.
Story. So that's kind of the aspect of this that is Mindy. There's probably a lot more to it than that. We try to condense things down for you as much as possible, and we still don't condense them down to as short as we probably should. So we're going to transition into Brooklyn and Bailey, which are their two oldest daughters that are twins. They were born in 1999, and so their channel obviously branched out of the Cute Girls Hairstyles and has kind of just taken off because they're cute, they're adorable, they're relatable. They started as when they were teenagers, and so it was very appealing, cute content for teenage girls, especially because it was very fashion related and, you know, here, let's talk things about periods, things that your mom won't tell you, like very much cute oriented towards teen girls. So it took off in that respect, and it has just been nonstop since. So in one of the articles that I read about them, there's not too many, but in some of them, there are some, like, not so much speculation around Mormonism, but some very clear and direct things that they've said about Mormonism in particular. This was an article that stated, though the sisters have not specifically dedicated any videos to talking about being Mormon, Brooklyn describes the family as extremely religious, meaning their religion inevitably influences the content they produce. We've kind of just been showing our life through YouTube, and our church is a big part of our life, said one of their younger sisters. Whenever we're at church, we are always vlogging after church.
Doesn't sound like the day of rest, if you ask me.
Doesn't sound like it. Also doesn't sound like fun to me. So once again, confirming they're Mormon, confirmed that it's an active part of their lives, part of their choices, part of their behavior, right?
How long ago was this?
I don't remember on that one. This one was an article, a separate article that kind of dived into it as far as religion goes a little bit deeper. There's an overtone of faith in their videos, whether they're waking up at 5 a.m. for a Bible study,
Book of Mormon study,
or talking about talking about their scriptures app on their iPhone. Few videos mention their Mormon faith directly, but Brooklyn and Bailey say it's not a secret. It's never an intentional choice, Bailey says. We're not like, oh, we're not going to say that we're Mormon. All of our fans know that we practice religion, we practice Christianity, we practice Mormonism. But it's more of just to be on the same side of not offending anybody, not feeling like we're out here trying to shove our religion down anyone's throat. So,
cap.
there's a line, right? There's a, I'm going to keep it concealed 1,000%. Nobody even knows we're Mormon. Similar to like the bucket list family. Most people don't even know. You got to really do some digging to figure it out. And then there's others who are very, very upfront about it. Like 8 Passengers, for example, Not Enough Nelsons. It's central to their vlogging
it's on their
experience.
website to request a Book of Mormon.
Exactly. Like it's everywhere. And so there's very much a spectrum of how influencers put Mormonism into their brand. But it's very much we're Mormon and we wish people would stop asking about it because we've talked about it and we're Mormon, but we don't talk about it. Like in any of the videos that I found, and I didn't I don't want to watch their videos, but in the ones that I kind of pieced together based off other information, they've never explicitly talked about Mormonism, like solely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what our church does, who we are, why we choose to believe, how we practice, what temples are, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. And that's more consistent with other bloggers like Jordan Page or, you know, Not Enough Nelson's other family Mormon bloggers. But it's aligns with their behavior and then also kind of doesn't. So while they say it's not an intentional choice to not talk about it, I don't know if that's totally true. Especially in the realm of being cute and trendy, Mormon modesty standards don't really line up with today's cute and trendy, especially right now, because crop tops are like huge right now.
Damn, I'm gonna get a crop top.
That does not align with Mormonism at all. Showing any type of midriff, your clothes have to cover your body. No coming up in the back, no coming up in the front. Like, has to cover that whole area. That's part of the standards of youth that they agreed to abide by as teenagers and going into young adulthood. It's not, you have to be modest until you wear your garments. Like, you've got to be like relatively modest and you can kind of get away with some things, but once you wear garments, you can't anymore. It's, you should be living like you're wearing garments even though you don't have them.
So it's not like a big adjustment for you.
No. And so it's not this expectation that you can be like scantily clad until you get your garments. Like, that's not at all what it is. Like, the expectation is you're going to dress like you wear them anyway.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the added, like, all of the purity culture type stuff that's relative to that, where men can't control their thoughts and you need to be mindful of the boys' priesthood and stuff like that. That just is a tacit part of modesty in Mormonism.
Exactly. And so, similar to other really big, cute, trendy Mormon influencers, Brooklyn nor Bailey dress appropriately based on Mormon standards.
Which good on them.
Right.
Honestly.
I don't care. Let's reiterate again that neither of us have a problem with that. We absolutely encourage people to live by the standards that they want to and to take things, you know, in your own way, do whatever you wish, wear whatever the hell you want. I don't give a shit. But as far as church standards go, Mormonism is modesty. It's not optional.
There's no compromise.
There's no compromise there. And again, I will say they're adorable. They're cute girls. They're super trendy. They have their own like little clothing fashion shop, which is not surprising to me. But you can't, obviously there's more money to be made in trendy clothing that doesn't have to fit to Mormon standards, right?
Yeah.
Those things are a little bit more challenging to find. And so that's how they kind of are different in this way. There are a lot of Mormon influencers out there who take pride in being like, I am Mormon and I have to dress this way, so I'm going to help you find things that are still cute but able to maintain modest standards. And that's a lot of the clothing boutiques here in Utah and Idaho and a few in Arizona, where that's like their whole goal is they give modest options that are still cute. And that doesn't seem to be what's happening here at all, which is interesting because it's kind of diverges from other Mormon influencers in that way. So, like I said, some images, they're all very adorable, they're very cute, but don't fit Mormon standards whatsoever. Something that they also have talked about, especially as it relates to college, because the two of them I think they just graduated from college. They have all mentioned multiple times, at least in articles that I've read, saying that they don't drink. That's another Mormon standard. There was one video that I saw where they don't drink coffee, which is another Mormon standard. Drinking coffee is against the word of wisdom. Drinking tea is against the word of wisdom. You cannot participate in temple rituals if you are drinking coffee or tea. Same goes with alcohol, no drinking whatsoever. And so there was an article that I read where they talked about, you know, it's hard to go to like celebrity influencer type gatherings because most people drink and they don't. So that's one Mormon standard that they stick to pretty rigidly. At least it seems that way. Another tenet of Mormonism that is prudent to bring up in these cases is the LGBTQ plus community. If you're not at all familiar with Mormonism does not allow any type of LGBTQ plus person.
Non-heteronormativity.
Yes.
There you go.
That is the standard. So anything that strays from that is, one, not culturally not going to be very widely accepted, which has kind of shifted in the last few years, but still. The church espouses on their website in doctrine currently that acting on what they would term same-sex attraction is a sin. So you cannot be in a relationship with another person that is a part of that community. If you're a trans person, you cannot transition socially, even socially. They've gotten a little bit better about that recently. There are some murmurings about you can have your pronouns in your bio.
Let's roll this clip real quick.
Fundamental to us is God's revelation that exaltation can only be attained through faithfulness to the covenants of an eternal marriage between a man and a woman. That divine doctrine is why we teach that gender is an essential characteristic of individual premortal, mortal, and eternal identity and purpose. That is also why the Lord has required his restored church to oppose social and legal pressures to retreat from his doctrine of marriage between a man and a woman, to oppose changes that homogenize the differences between men and women, or to confuse or alter gender.
So you may think, oh, that's probably like an antiquated take. There's no way that they can still be this in the past. No, that was last week. This dude got up over the pulpit and said that. So people are saying, oh, they're making progress. And I want them to make progress. I hope that they make progress. But this shit is still happening all the time. To say that there's progress, I think is just lying to ourselves. Sorry to Jordan. I know she wants there to be progress, but
it's very minute, if there is any, and it is also probably a little patronizing.
It is a glacier's pace of change.
So that being said, that is one of the firmest stances that the church has had. It has always been that way. They have always been against things. They spent a ton of money on Prop 8. That's a whole other story. But they're actively against the LGBTQ plus community. They will pretend that they support them and care about them. That it's absolute bullshit. Do not believe it for a moment. And so because of that, the Mormon church is pretty well established as far as those views go. So I feel like most people are aware of the fact that they don't really support LGBTQ plus people. So because of that, Brooklyn and Bailey, I think in what I've seen, tend to get a lot of questions about whether or not they support the LGBTQ plus movement people. So one of these questions that I found was during one of them posted it on their stories. Somebody asked a question, do you support LGBTQ? And I don't know which one of them it was that responded, but they said, I hate that this is even a question because personally, I believe everyone should support everyone regardless of race, gender, family circumstances, sexuality, affluence, etc. We have so many family members and friends who are LGBTQI+, and I love and support them all. Who they decide to love affects my life in no way, so I don't see why it should affect the way I treat them. If they are happy, I'm happy.
They know how to set a fence.
They do.
What can I say?
It's very... I feel like it's a common response.
Yeah. It's enlightened centrism, if I've ever heard it, where you're like, we just need to love everybody. And we, as a society, have not progressed to that point yet where we're able to handle that. And it's just gross to think that. I hope at this point that they weren't paying tithing, because I am a firm believer that if you pay money to this organization, you're putting money in that fucking idiot's pocket who was just talking and saying bullshit about how people aren't valid, how people's relationships aren't valid and everything like that. So
to reinforce bigotry and homophobia. It's exactly what you're doing.
And that putting money in his pocket is the absolute littlest bit of the whole story.
And we've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. You cannot be an ally to people as a part of the LGBTQ plus community if you are donating tithing or donating money to a homophobic organization that has tried to rally against legalizing gay marriage. Like, these are things that are actively happening. Legislation in Utah is extremely supported by Mormons, and it is transphobic as hell this session.
Ooh, yeah.
So this isn't like antiquated beliefs that are like people are hanging onto dearly, and some, ex-Mormons are just like, oh, the church is homophobic and we're just trying to hang on to something, because that's not the case.
This is day-to-day life for a lot of people.
This is what's happening right now. And so I hope that while this was kind of a wishy-washy response, I hope that they're potentially more passionate about this behind the scenes, because it's definitely not outwardly obvious on any of their social media.
No.
So
to say, oh, this shouldn't have to be answered is...
Right. Like, you shouldn't have to ask me, well, you're part of a homophobic organization, so are you or are you not? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what happens. We got questions like that when we were Mormon. That comes with the territory. If you're going to align yourself with an organization like that, you're going to get questions like that, period. Like, that's just what's going to happen. And this is what we mean when you align yourself with an organization like this. Because they're like, why the hell are people asking me this? And it's like, because we asked the same thing.
It's a big deal. It is people's lives. So if you're supporting a person and they fundamentally do not approve of you, your personality, who you truly are, then why would you want to continue supporting that person? I wouldn't.
And what kind of friend or supporter are you of your LGBTQIA plus friends if you're a part of this organization? Like, I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. You can't talk out both sides of your mouth. Like,
and
it's
we've
one
been
way
there.
or another.
We thought we were, and we said we were, but we weren't, because we were paying our tithing still to the church.
Absolutely.
If you want to pay tithing, if you believe that God wants you to give your money, a tenth of your money to anywhere, just make sure that it's not there.
You can still...
Otherwise, there's no problem with it. Just make sure it's not there.
You can apply. There's a lot of really progressive Mormons who apply the 10% tithing rule to like random charities that they want to support.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, that's a very progressive take, but by all means, if you're Mormon, you have to be donating directly to the church. There is no way really around that. You'd be hard pressed to find a bishop that would be like, yeah, you can donate to whoever you want. You don't have to donate to the church. Not going to find that. So, more specifically, people have asked us about Brooklyn and Bailey, like individually, them in particular. There's a lot of like murmurings about the two of them not being super Mormon, which if I was to judge by their appearance alone, which is judging, I would say no.
Judgy.
If we're going solely by the judgy persona of what they look like and how they dress outwardly, then I would say, yeah, they're probably not. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So Bailey was the first one to get married. She's been married. She did date her current husband for 4.5 years, which by Mormon standards,
yeah,
unheard of. That's a long time.
Yeah. And her husband that she dated for 4.5 years is the nephew of Willie Roberts, the duck commander guy.
Yeah.
That we all thought was like fucking cool for like 10 years. And then we realized that whole family is just not good.
And it was all for show. Yeah. So this shit is all connected. Like the Mormon influencer, whatever the hell you call it.
The multiverse.
The multiverse.
We have our connection to Jen's
Christianity,
Fridays.
evangelicals, like it's all
It's all
connected.
connected.
It's all connected. And it is bizarre. So yeah, her husband, Asa, I think is his name, is the nephew of Willie Robertson. So there's your fun fact of the day. Asa is not Mormon. I think in videos they've talked about him being Christian-ish.
Which would make sense for the family.
Which would make sense, but he is definitely not Mormon. They did not get married in the temple. Obviously, he did not convert to Mormonism, at least as of late. It does not sound, based on their interactions and the way they've done videos, it doesn't sound like that's a direction that they're going to go. Bailey's wedding was not a traditional Mormon wedding at all. Even if, like, I would venture to say, even if I was a member and the person that I was marrying is not, I would still, in my Mormon head, I would still want to find a wedding dress that is appropriate by Mormon standards, right? Appropriate by Mormon standards. That would be what I would do. But that's not the direction that she went, which is totally fine. Her wedding dress is beautiful. I think there was mention that she had like 3. I don't know if that's true or not.
What?
But the one
I
that
guess you had 2, technically.
I had 2?
Yeah, you had the dress you got married in, and then the dress that we went to
I had the
your
ugly
temple dress.
white.
That's 2 dresses.
I guess.
Count them.
Here's
2.
a $50 dress and a $1,000 dress. It's fine. So if that's the case, extra. If that's the case, not surprised. If I had millions of dollars, I probably wouldn't throw the possibility of having multiple wedding dresses out the window either.
Yeah.
Why not? So her wedding dress is gorgeous. They didn't have a Mormon wedding. Her mom wasn't even in a garment-friendly outfit, as we discussed previously.
Love to see it, honestly.
So not...
People just living the way they want to live.
Exactly. No Mormonism stench coming off of any of that. It smells clean up to this point, right? I have seen in the Snark sub, it's kind of been established again to go into the little crazy Christian multiverse. Bailey gives me Bethany vibes from Girl Defined. Bethany got married years ago and will literally not let go of her wedding ever. She will not ever not talk about it. If she goes a few days without talking about it, I'm concerned.
Check up on her.
Check up on her. Like, literally, and anytime anybody else is doing anything, like if her sisters are having like a special moment, she has to post about the fact that she got married. Like, she just regurgitates the same content over and over again. And it's always wedding based. And it sounds like, based on what I read in the Funny Snark sub or the McKnight Snark sub, it seems like Bailey's kind of doing the same thing. Very much focused on the wedding, always bringing up the wedding, constantly talking about the wedding, even though it's over. So that's...
Well, they just barely got married, like last year, didn't they?
I don't remember.
Recently,
2021. Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of buildup. You talk about your wedding. It's great. You talk about it for a few weeks after.
It's supposed to be the greatest day of your life.
But then you just kind of move on.
Yeah. Maybe make your life about what's going on.
But I get it, though, because if you're familiar at all with influencers and how they operate, you know there are 2 things that make influencers big bucks, and it's weddings and babies. So
she'll talk about it until she has got a baby. And
exactly.
Then maybe she'll move on.
Exactly. So
awesome.
Weddings, engagements, babies, those kinds of things, especially on YouTube, equate to big money. So the interesting thing about Bailey is she does seem to be a little more on the progressive side, like obviously in the way she dresses. But since getting married, she's been very open and honest about sex and conversations in that light, in that area. She's talked about it on her Instagram, been quite open about it. And so what I found interesting was in one of her little highlights or one of her Instagram stories, somebody asked her about in line with masturbation, vibrators, that kind of thing. And she said that she used a vibrator. It was either that or actually masturbated prior to getting married, which...
Whoa.
Mormons everywhere are clutching their pearls at that right now because masturbation is very much against the rules. Within the church, within the Mormon church, very, very explicitly against the rules. So I will read you just to affirm this. This was from Prophet Spencer W. Kimball in his book, which is an absolute dumpster fire.
Oh, you misspoke. That's Spencer W. Shitball. Yeah! Okay, go ahead.
So what he said, and remember, he was a prophet of the church. Thus, prophets anciently and today condemn masturbation. It induces feelings of guilt and shame. It is detrimental to spirituality. It indicates slavery to the flesh, not that mastery of it and the growth toward godhood, which is the object of our mortal life. Our modern prophet has indicated that no young man should be called on a mission who is not free from this practice. While we should not regard this weakness as the heinous sin which some other sexual practices are, it is of itself bad enough to require sincere repentance. What is more, it often leads to grievous sin, even to that sin against nature, homosexuality. For done in private, it evolves often into mutual masturbation practiced with another person of the same sex, and thence into total homosexuality. How we got to touching yourself is bad to touching yourself is going to make you gay, I don't really know. That was a large leap that we just made.
I know.
Like a very large
I don't know
leap.
if Spencer was unaware, but you can also do the mutual portion with other people.
Of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
If that's really his concern. But
Do it with people of the same sex, with the opposite sex, with anywhere in between, because gender is not binary.
Spencer is a huge
But-
homophobe, like fixated
Yeah.
on things like this. And so it's not surprising to me that he can take anything and turn it into, well, it's going to make you gay. So
Yeah.
it's not exactly
He commissioned
surprising.
the first gender neutral bathroom in the Salt Lake City cemetery. He put his name on it. So
Oh, snap.
there you go.
So that's interesting about Bailey. A lot more like progressively leaning, which is great, especially in this area, not just in Mormonism, but in Christianity, where there's this like hush hush, sex is bad until you're married, then the switch flips and sex is okay. And there's a lot of transitioning that has to happen there that, especially in Mormonism and in some aspects of Christianity and evangelicalism, that really isn't talked about. And so they have to, being open about that is a little bit unique. Because it's intimate, it's personal, it's vulnerable. And so the fact that she's willing to put herself out there and be like, no, this is my experience, this is how it's working for me. She explicitly stated that she waited until marriage with her husband, which is great. We always tell people, do whatever you want to do. If that's what you want to do, great. If you want to have sex all the time before you ever get married, if you never want to get married, great. But it's nice, at least in that sense, that she's being open and honest about it. And it will hopefully help, younger Mormon women who are feeling a lot of potential shame from the fact that they, touch themselves for self-care or pleasure or whatever the hell reason you want, because the Mormon church will tell you that that's bad. So this is another instance where it doesn't really line up, right? We've got some conflicting things going on here. So the other twin, Brooklyn, just got engaged yesterday as of the day we're making this video.
Which is Sunday.
So that's fabulous. Congrats. Sounds great. They literally got engaged. As everyone knows, as we just talked about a few moments ago, engagements, weddings, babies make big, big money for YouTube channels. Right before we filmed this video, somebody shared in the Snark sub a video of Brooklyn and Bailey's younger sister, posted a video on TikTok with what's the Bag Alert song? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is that a Migos song?
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure.
So essentially it's just a song about, get that bag, get your money, major bag alert, something's happening where you're going to get a lot of money, right? Well, her little sister posted a video saying, my sister just posted her engagement online with that soundtrack behind it.
Intentional.
So, I think it's funny, but, that's what it's what I'm thinking. They're going to make some big money out of this. Sponsorships, potential ring sponsorships, decorations, venue, make some big money. Probably get the wedding dress paid for, the ring paid for. Who even knows, man? Possibilities are endless. So, particularly with Brooklyn, there's a picture that I will include in here that it was literally marked NSFW in the Snark sub, because it is a spicy photo. This was prior, I think obviously, because it was a while ago, this is prior to even engagement. So we've already talked about Modesty. Brooklyn kind of abides by the same things. There really aren't too many differences between the two of them. But in September, she posted some really spicy photos of her and her then boyfriend in the water. I will throw it up right here. By Mormon accounts, this is spicy. This is Relief Society members, the older women in the ward who are seeing this, calling up her mom and being like, "Did you see what she just posted on Instagram?"
Your daughter posted?
That's somebody going straight to the bishop. They might even bypass her mom completely and send it right to her bishop. Like, this is a scandalous photo. Now, there's some, like, speculation that they went on some vacations together and they stayed in the same, like, house. And that's not to say that they're doing anything. You can be separate and stay in the same room together. Yeah. It doesn't inherently lend itself to any sexual activity. But as far as the Mormon world, my mother particularly would have never allowed me to be. Would never. Even, I mean, McKay stayed in our house a few times, and I had to sleep in my mom's bed with her because McKay had to sleep in my bed. So there is, like, no funny business as far as that stuff goes with most Mormons. Your parents were the same. Your parents didn't want you to stay in my house, even though I lived with my mom at the time.
Yep.
So Mormons are really, really rigid about that. So there's some speculation there. Again, that's not to say that they're doing anything inappropriate, but there was also some total speculation within the vlogging or within the funny snark, McKnight, snark, whatever the hell it is, sub.
It's all the same shit.
It's all the same about if she's trying to, like, distinguish herself from Bailey, and that Bailey was, like, you know, a little less scandalous about it, waited till marriage, and Brooklyn's out here being a little more. People are starting to wonder if they really waited. So it'll be interesting to see that pan out. The guy that she's engaged to, I could not 100% verify that he is Mormon. Based on sole assumptions, I would assume that he is. I was able to...
He's from Vernal.
He's from Vernal, from what I could read.
That's pretty laughable. I'm sorry, people in Vernal.
But he had the Book of Mormon on his Facebook profile, which leads me to believe that unless he made it when he was like 11 and he liked it, which could possibly be true, it leads me to think more so than not that he might be Mormon, which is interesting because it could kind of illuminate whether or not the two of them are actually actively Mormon. Can they have a temple wedding? Are they both temple worthy? Or is it going to be a completely separate wedding where Mormonism isn't really involved at all? So
only time will tell.
Only time will tell. I also wanted to throw up this very cute letter. There's a lot of, like, conservative undertones in this family, which is fine. But it seems to me that Brooklyn's boyfriend is definitely a Trumpy, like a diehard Trumpy. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because this was posted on the internet, and it is basically a love letter that he wrote to Donald Trump. So allow me to read it for you. So he said, "Dear President Trump, I want to take a minute to say thank you. Even though they stole the election, you deserve my gratitude. Thank you for not plunging us into another war. Thank you for walking through hell and back for the American people. Thank you for doing it for free."
Shut the fuck up.
"Thank you for working through the night while my family was tucked safely in bed. Thank you for standing strong and staring adversity in the face. Thank you for keeping God, in the all caps, in the country I love. Thank you for not backing down when the weight of the world was against you. Thank you for putting your family in the line of fire when you didn't have to. Thank you for standing up for women." Excuse me, what? Hello? We're not talking about the same dude. "Thank you for not being a politician.
Oh my.
Thank you for being raw and even sometimes too much. Thank you for standing up for the unborn. Thank you for caring about the little guy. Thank you for working harder than any president in my life. Thank you for your service to this country. Win or lose, I am a fan. May God, all caps, always bless you and your family. From a grateful nation, thank you, heart, American flag, copy plus paste plus share." Cringe. Absolute cringe.
It's a copy paste.
It's a total copy paste thing, but he posted it on his Facebook. It was January 15th.
Of last year?
I'm not sure.
Probably.
This year or last year.
It was more likely last year. Thank you, President Trump, for getting banned from Twitter. Thank you, President Trump, for getting banned from YouTube. Thank you, President Trump, for getting banned from Facebook. Don't care.
So that's interesting. There is not a lot of information out there about their own politics. It seems like they keep that very separate, if at all, detectable from their brand, their channels, their social media. So that is interesting. Who knows where they side on that. If they're Mormons, obviously there's a lot of them that tend to lean right. So
I could never simp for a politician like that.
But you never know. You never know. So that's kind of the majority of what I wanted to cover. There's a lot that I wanted to touch on that we can't, just for time's sake. But I hope that kind of gives you a good kind of short summary of their relationship to Mormonism, what that may or may not look like at this point, because they keep it very different from a lot of other influencers. But again, just to reinstate everything that we talk about, there's a reason we do this. There's a reason we bring attention to these things. It's important, especially for people within Mormonism, that if they, put their lives out there like this, then they're going to be critiqued based on Mormon standards. And it sets people up with the expectation that influencers, because they pay money to the church, likely aren't going to get disciplined by the church because they pull in so much money for the church. The influencers get special privileges. Yeah.
And the church doesn't want to ruin a bad thing.
No.
And to reiterate, these people, they don't have anything really going on that's scandalous. Mindy does great hair. And they just seem like good, mostly genuine people. So if they're just trying to get that bag, that's great. But it's against the overtone of, if that money is going to a oppressive organization and institution.
Yeah.
So.
And honesty. Yeah. Honesty is actually one of the questions in the Temple Recommend interview. If you were honest with your fellow men. And so that can include a variety of things, whether it's, saying that you're dressing appropriately when you're not, any potential sketchy behavior, any potential sketchy business practices. Those all fall under the line of, you got to be honest about those things. And if you're not supposed to have a temple recommend. So honesty is the policy of the Mormon church, even though they're not really honest. So.
I was going to say, some true believing Mormon posted in r/X Mormon talking about apologizing for the rest of the membership. And his posting history was emulating Nintendo games. I was like, piracy isn't very honest. Piracy is badass, but for a Mormon, it's not a very honest thing to do.
We forgot to mention at the beginning of this video that we are wearing our Black Menaces merch.
That came yesterday. If you do not follow the Black Menaces, their primary platform is on TikTok. They are a group of Black students or recent graduates at BYU who go around campus asking students questions. Some scandalous questions about, do you believe that people of the same gender should be able to date on campus? Do you support Black Lives Matter? Just question, a little bit more of scandalous questions makes you think, and it's asking BYU students. So you get a variety. Go check it out if you haven't already.
Perspectives. So they have gained a tremendous amount of traction. So go support them. They've got Patreon, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Go follow them.
All badass.
We'll link their stuff in the description.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around if you've made it this far. If you want to win one of our signature scent self-care day candles, you must subscribe and you must leave a comment. But hit that subscribe button anyway if you'd like to see more about what we're doing with Mormon influencers and the Mormon church and everything like that and all the things that we talk about. If you'd like to support us in a special way, you can join our Patreon. There are a lot of cool perks. It is linked down in the description. You can find it at patreon.com/Jordan and McKay.
We have exclusive videos for patrons only. So.
Exclusive content. and all the cool things like that. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can join our Discord. The invite link is in the description. It's a really easy way to get in contact with us, and there's a really cool community there too as well that you might find and make some new friends on wherever, in whatever. We also have social media. You can find us at Jordan and McKay on Instagram and TikTok. Jordan is posting up and sharing stories, and I just like them because I'm not as social media savvy as Jordan is.
Also, Instagram has changed the algorithm and has basically shit on our account because they decided to change the algorithm every once in a while, and it screws everything up. So go engage with us on Instagram, follow, like our stuff.
It'd be awesome. If you want some merch, keep an eye out. We will be posting new stuff this week that we mentioned last week with the wolf design and the Garmies in a Bunch design.
So excited.
So we're excited about that. Keep an eye out. And we've got a lot of other cool designs that you can buy and wear and offend people with, maybe. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, and we will see you next time.